podium, I would be remiss if I did not mention to the people assembled and to the people watching on TV that this is your last meeting as town moderator, and that you have served as town moderator for 33 years. There are many components to the lifeblood of a town, but one of them is the willingness of people to volunteer. And John has been at our side at town meeting now for 33 years, and to sort of publicly acknowledge that service, we have a plaque here for him, and it reads, John F. Hogan, in appreciation of your many years of dedicated public service representing the citizens of the town of Clinton as town moderator, 1986 to 2019. John, it's my pleasure to give you that. And just in closing, I would like to say that he wasn't really a volunteer. He's paid $100 a year. So in the 33 years, he has received the princely sum of $3,300.
This is my last, I would like to also just thank a few people for all these years, if you can indulge on you people for that. I'd like to thank the Board of Selectmen, both past and present, for their cooperation and assistance over the years that I've worked with them. I'd also like to thank our town attorney, Robert Gibbons, and for his assistance and guidance over the years, as well as his predecessors in the town attorney position, which was Bill Conley Sr., and what is now Judge Dennis Sargent. Also like to thank Town Administrator Michael Ward, who seems to have a world of knowledge every time you ask him a question. Also like to thank Julie Kilbride, who's been with us for most of these 33 years as our clerk stenographer. Also like to thank the Finance Committee, who do a great job of advising the town on how to spend their money, or in some cases, how not to spend their money as they consider articles. As you know, the moderator appoints the Finance Committee, and I'm proud of the Finance Committee that I've been able to appoint. As well as that, the moderator also appoints the Town Building Committee, and we've got some solid construction-type people that are on that as well. And lastly, I'd like to thank you, the voters and residents of Clinton, for the honor and privilege of allowing me to be your moderator for all these years. I do consider this position one of honor and privilege, and it was my pleasure to be your moderator. I do hope that you receive some knowledge from me, as I certainly learned a lot from you in your comments and your suggestions. I always felt it takes a strong backbone for someone to get up and speak at town meeting, and I congratulate them who have done so over the years. And with that, we can start with a little more presentation. I'd like to start out with a moment of silence for some people who are former town employees who are no longer with us. Former selectman, firefighter with the Clinton Fire Department, and member of the retirement board, John Fum McNamara. Former tax collector employee, Rosemary Hazel. From the police department, Jim DeCesare. From the electrical inspector's office, Arthur Mayo and Francis Cipriani. And from the library, the director, Christine Flaherty. If we could have a moment for these people at this time. Thank you. Your stage members for tonight's meeting are, let's see. From your far right, Selectman Sean Kerrigan, Selectman Bill Conley, Chairman of the Board Michael Jakonski, your town administrator is Michael Ward, and your town attorney is Robert Gibbons. And on my right, your left, is Julie Kilbride, who is our clerk stenographer. The Finance Committee members who are sitting down here as a group in the front on your right are Chairman James Tumalo, Ellen O'Toole, Edward Powers, Attorney Bill McGrail, Bob Latini, and Barry Whitney. All questions and comments should be directed to the moderator. I will redirect that to the appropriate person for a response. Please state your name and address before speaking. Please note personalities in your remarks and try to keep your comments to the discussion under the discussion that we're under. The only votes that will count during hand votes are people who are seated in the call, so those who are standees should find a seat so that their votes can be counted. The only people in the hall now should be registered voters in the town of Clinton or people who have been given permission by myself to observe the proceedings from the visitor section of the balcony. All proposed amendments should be presented to me in writing, and unless I hear an objection, I will dispense with the formal reading of the warrant, as you should all have copies in front of you now. Oh, I guess you don't. Could we have our tellers up front, please? Holly, do we have a third? Huh?
Or until somebody calls the phone. No, is that?
So this here has, that's the school budget, which you probably don't know what this is.
Hopefully we won't, no.
This is the downtown project.
Okay.
This here is
Michael,
stretch code and stuff. How much you get to it.
Let's see how far we get.
well, I thought you might want.
Oh, I don't know. Go ahead, look through it. Is this it? This says motions on. Okay.
It doesn't matter. I just wanted you had one, so I wanted you to have one.
I think hopefully all of you have a warrant in front of you now so we can get started. Can you hear me all right? Yes or no? Can you hear me okay? Yes? Okay. We'll start with Article 2, because we've already done Article 1. Article 2.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to receive the reports of the town officers.
Second.
Article number 2 have been made and seconded, dealing with receiving annual article to receive the reports of the officers. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none. All in favor, please signify by raising your card, your blue card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 3.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to fix the salaries and compensations of all elective officials of the town as provided by Chapter 41, Section 108 of the Massachusetts General Laws, said salaries and compensation to be effective from July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020, and to raise and appropriate a sum of money thereof.
Second.
Article number 3 have been made and seconded. Finance Committee approved. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your hand, your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 4. This, I believe this is written in your... Okay, it's written in your warrant, but they have to be more specific with the funding sources, which you're going to hear from the stage here now in terms of where the money is coming. This is for your annual budget for the next fiscal year beginning July 1. On the last page of the budget under funding sources.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate from the current tax levy the sum of $44,068,731, and to appropriate and transfer from overlay surplus the sum of $594,000, and to appropriate and transfer the sum of $16,834, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $460,159 from the Ambulance Enterprise Fund, and to appropriate and transfer the sum of $75,977 and raise and appropriate the sum of $2,701,138 from the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund, and to appropriate from the appropriate and transfer the sum of $9,125 and raise and appropriate the sum of $659,289 from the Rubbish Enterprise Fund, and to appropriate from the Rubbish Enterprise Fund return earnings the sum of $25,000, and to appropriate and transfer the sum of $31,904 and raise and appropriate the sum of $203,203,031 from the Landfill Enterprise Fund, said sums to be used to defray town charges from July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020, as those charges appear in the Finance Committee report of recommendations.
Second.
Article number 4 have been made and seconded. I won't reread it because it's already been read to you. What I'm going to do is go over the budget department by department, which is here in the back. If you have a question or a comment or a suggestion as I get to each one, raise your hand and we can address it. If we get past your department that you're thinking about and you want to go back later, we will have a catch-all at the end of the budget to go back to anything that was missed. Okay, starting with Section 114, Moderator, Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, Town Accountant, Board of Assessors, Treasurer Collector, Parking fines administrator. Next page. Town solicitor. Town clerk. Conservation Commission. Planning Board. Zoning Board. Montechusett Planning Commission. Office of Economic and Community Development. Town Hall Building Manager. Insurance and miscellaneous. Next page. The Police Department. Fire Department. Building Inspector. Gas and Plumbing Inspectors. Sealer of Weights and Measures. Electrical Inspector. Office of Emergency Management. Animal Control Officer. School Department. Next page. Department of Public Works. Cemetery Department. Board of Health. Council on Aging. Department of Veteran Services. Bigelow Public Library. Parks and Recreation. Fuller Field Commission. And pensions and annuities, next page. Human Resources. Facilities and Ground Department. A lot of miscellaneous items and budget items that you see there. Next page, 452, Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund. The Rubbish Enterprise Fund. The Landfill Enterprise Fund. And a fiscal year budget summary. And then you've got your revenue issues down there. Sources of funding are in there, not to confuse you, but they're there. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion about the proposed budget for the next fiscal year, Article 4? This article was approved by your Finance Committee as written. There being none, take a vote at this time. All those in favor of Article 4 for the budget, please raise your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 5.
Mr. Moderator, motion to reconsider the article.
Motion has been made and seconded to reconsider Article 4. The intent of this is to kill it for the evening. If you vote yes, you will vote to reconsider the article you just passed, and we'll start all over. If you vote no, Article 4 will remain passed, and there will be no further discussion on it during the duration of this meeting. Anyone not clear about what I mean by that? Okay, all those in favor of reconsideration indicate by raising your card now. Wow. Nobody. All those opposed? Thank you. Okay, Article 4, there'll be no further discussion on Article 4 for the duration of this meeting. Article 5.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the town treasurer and town collector to enter into a compensating balance agreement with banking institution for fiscal year 2020 pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 53F of the Massachusetts General Laws.
Second.
Article number 5 has been made and seconded, annual article requiring the treasurer and collector to put monies they receive in interest-bearing accounts. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 6.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $4,800, said sum to be expended for social services in accordance with programs as approved by the Board of Selectmen.
Second.
Article number 6 has been made and seconded, dealing with the sum of $4,800 for social services. Annual article, Finance Committee approved. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none. All in favor of Article 6 indicate by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 7.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000, said sum to be expended as the town of Clinton's share to the Wachusett Health Education Action Team, WHEAT Incorporated, which committee is a delegate agency of the United Way of Tri-County.
Second.
Article number 7 have been made and seconded dealing with the sum of $20,000 for wheat. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? It bears the approval of your Finance Committee. All those in favor, please signify now with your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 8.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 44, Sections 53E and a half of the Massachusetts General Laws to set the limits on the total amounts that may be expended from each of the town's revolving funds established under the town's administrative bylaws. The revolving fund gas and plumbing inspector, $50,000, council on aging, $2,000, town hall use, $5,000, Old Home Day, $25,000, Fuller Field, $3,000, and Town Clerk, $10,000.
Second.
Article number 8 have been made and seconded dealing with revolving funds for the departments that are listed in your warrant. This is become an annual article. The Department of Revenue has recommended. We did this a few years ago for every meeting, so it's here again before you tonight. This is Finance Committee approved. Is there any questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none. All in favor, please signify by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 9.
Article 9. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate from the Assessor's Overlay Reserve Account the sum of $30,000, said sum to be used to continue the senior tax rebate program for fiscal year 2020.
Second.
Article number 9 have been made and seconded. $30,000 from the Assessor's Overlay Reserve Account to be used for the continuation of the senior tax rebate program. Finance Committee approved. Questions, comments, or discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Sir.
Sean Kerrigan, 86 Orange Street. Over the past, this past year, the Board of Selectmen voted to work with the assessors and take advantage of rebates and exemptions for property taxes wherever possible. This is doubling the number from last year and will allow us to double the amount of the impact of this program.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or discussion under Article 9? There being none, all in favor, please raise your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 10.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $150,000 to the Health Insurance Trust Fund.
Second.
Article number 10 have been made and seconded dealing with $150,000 for the health insurance for retired town employees. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? It also bears the approval of your Finance Committee. There being none. All in favor, please signify by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 11.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $150,000 to the Stabilization Fund.
Second.
Article number 11 have been made and seconded dealing with $150,000 to be placed into the Stabilization Fund. Finance Committee approved. Questions, comments, or discussion? Requiring a majority vote. All those in favor, please signify now with your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 12.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from the Landfill Enterprise Fund retained earnings the sum of $2,560,000 to the Landfill Closure Reserve.
Second.
Article number 12 have been made and seconded dealing with $2,560,000 to be transferred. Please look at that word, not appropriated. Transferred from the Landfill Enterprise Fund account and going to the Landfill Closure Reserve to work on capping the landfill. Finance Committee approved. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none, all in favor, please signify now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 13.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from the Landfill Enterprise Fund retained earnings the sum of $4,500,000 to the capital projects and infrastructure improvement stabilization fund.
Second.
Article number 13, dealing with the sum of $4,500,000, also a transfer and not an appropriation. Again, and this would be for the High Street and Church Street project that you probably read about in the paper that's forthcoming. Finance Committee approved. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article?
Mr. Moderator,
Sir.
I would just like to mention that this is just transferring the money into the Infrastructure Improvement Stabilization Fund. There's a later article that authorizes the expenditure.
Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none. All in favor, please signify by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 14.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,239.60, said sum to be expended by the Board of Selectmen for the following unpaid bills. Reganeni Zoll Memorials, $1,777. Darrell Sutherly, $462.60.
Second.
Article number 14 have been made and seconded, dealing with unpaid bills that you see written in your warrant. Finance Committee approved. Requires a 4/5 vote for approval at an annual town meeting. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Articles 15.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate from the PEG Access and Cable Related Fund the sum of $225,000, said sum to be used for the support of cable access related services, programming, and equipment.
Second.
Article number 15 have been made and seconded, dealing with the sum of $225,000 used for your local cable TV station that you probably see on TV. This article was Finance Committee approved. Is there any questions, comments, or discussion underneath it? There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? The article is passed. Article 16.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from the capital projects and infrastructure improvement stabilization fund the sum of $3 million and to borrow the sum of $1,500,000, said sums to be expended by the Board of Selectmen for the High Street and Church Street reconstruction project, including sidewalks, curbing, and installation of decorative street lights and streetscape improvements in the downtown area, including all related costs.
Second.
Article number 16 have been made and seconded. This article deals with $3 million from one source and $1.5 million from another, which will be borrowed, requiring a 2/3 vote for passage. It is for the High Street and Church Street renovation project that we've talked about before. Finance Committee approved. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 16?
Mr. Moderator,
Sir.
I hope that this motion passes. The Board of Selectmen have been talking about it for a long time. In simple terms, in the last few years, my wife and I have done a number of renovations and upgrades to the house, something that most homeowners in the town of Clinton have done through the course of their ownership. Things have to be updated, things have to be spiffied up. I think it's time for us to spiffy up our downtown business district, to be able to put our best foot forward in terms of supporting the businesses that are there and attracting new businesses. One of the questions I'm often asked is, when can High Street be the storefronts on High Street be full and it be a vital downtown as it used to be. I think we're close to being there. I think the downtown is doing well, but we have a number of problems. The streetlights are 50 years old. They are, particularly on the north end of the town of High Street, sporadic. There's not a regular pattern to them. They are, in some places, they don't exist on the north end. The lights are very often off. They're difficult to fix because they're 50 years old. Replacing them will require that the sidewalks be dug up, and therefore they need to be replaced. And in the meantime, there have been many complaints about the status of High Street, the street itself. There's holes and ruts and standing water after a rainstorm. Borings we did as a result of the committee work that has been done has shown that this will require a full depth reconstruction. That is, we won't just be sanding the top and putting down a new street. The result at the end of this project should be better lighting, lighting more in keeping with the Victorian nature of the town, light poles that will enable us to easily put up flags for Memorial and Veterans Day and put up banners for other occasions. It will enable us to reestablish the beloved Christmas decoration lights down on High Street. But more importantly, it will provide, particularly in the evening, a safe and pleasant, pedestrian-friendly downtown for people from town and from out of town. And we're not doing this in a vacuum. We've done parking studies and have begun implementing the recommendation of the traffic study with finding signs and establishing parking times, parking limits, which the police have begun enforcing. We're also later in the meeting going to be looking at a zoning article that will make it easier for building owners in the downtown to establish residences in the upper floors up over the storefronts. This is very important to a vital downtown area. Residents in the downtown bring business there, and they have a stake in keeping the place moving well. So for the future of the town and for finally we'll be able to look and say, well, it's a really bustling, busy downtown. I hope that you will pass this article. Thank you very much.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion under Article 16? There being none? Oh, I'm sorry, come on up.
Deborah Goodsell, 12 Spring Street, Clinton. I just have a quick question. Does this include all the way up to senior housing, as in past the senior center, all the way to housing on Church Street?
The upper Church Street up to Corcoran.
Up to Corcoran. Okay, because the sidewalks from the senior center up to senior housing are non-existent. Could this be expanded up?
I'll tell you the truth, Deborah, I don't know how to answer that. I suppose if the funds are available and authorized here, we could do that.
Thank you.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion under the
Mr. Moderator, I just wanted to say something else. This $4.5 million is not coming out of the tax revenues. This is coming out of the landfill stabilization and capital improvement funds that we've been working to gather these many years. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, Phil Duffy, 260 Church Street, also Community and Economic Development Director. To Ms. Goodsell's question, Deb, just so you know, this project doesn't contemplate extending this phase of work up to presentation. However, this is part of a multi-phase attempts to improve infrastructure in the public property in the downtown. We've already been able to affect the redoing of 2 of the parking lots downtown. We're about to do Walnut Street after having done Nelson Street. We've applied for funding for the little segment of Water Street between Main and High. And a few years ago, we devised a complete streets plan. We've already been successful in obtaining funding from that program to do Franklin Street last year. And I believe that section of sidewalk is either 3rd or 4th on that priority list. So we hope to be getting to that. We have plans to do that, and we hope to be getting to it in the next couple of years. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Still under discussion under Article 16. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Sir?
My name is Peter Wong. I live in Clinton at 156 Main Street, one of the second oldest houses in Clinton. History, growing up on High Street, my father, Roy Wing Wong, had 3 businesses on High Street. I remember we used to wash and press hundreds of shirts, but there was one set that stood out because it was made of fine white linens, 100% cotton, in an extra large size. The shirt had a personalized name tag in red letters saying Congressman Philip J. Philbin. My father never charged the congressman extra for having the largest shirt in the business. Nor did we ever find out why the Honorable Raymond J. Salmon, God bless him, former magistrate of the Clinton District Court, would always pick up and drop off the congressman's dirty laundry while doing his own pickups. Back in those days, I remember downtown was brightly lit up during Christmas. There were rows of Christmas lights hung across the street to brighten the holiday shopping. During that period, shopping in downtown ended at Newberry's on the corner of High Street. Today, the places for business have continued to grow north to the end of High Street, also known as the dark side of the side without lights. Sidewalks and street lights were not regularly placed then, and there were stretches where there are no lights at all. At the intersection of Water Street, the former Roy Wing Laundry has become Jose's new barber shop. The shop shines like a beacon on a dark night, as you've noticed. But even with its bright lights, it won't prevent an accidental fall or injury due to the sidewalk heaving during the wintertime. It comes up 2 or 3 inches, and fortunately, during the spring thaw, it settles back down. For the past year, I have had the honor and privilege to sit in on the Town Economic Director's Bill Duffy Steering Committee to revitalize Clinton's downtown. This project will provide for new lights, sidewalks, and pavements to the entire extended business section of High Street. I witnessed the giving of personal time, advice, and cooperation from town officials in the role of volunteers. They have the knowledge and experience in their field to come together to collaborate and create plans to improve our community to the likes of Hudson or Leominster and etc. Case in point is the project to maximize the public parking downtown. This upgrade initiated last summer is, you can see this at the Walnut Street parking. You've noticed the attractive public parking signs, the blue with the red circles. I think those are pretty modern and update. So I am in favor of the committee's plan to revitalize Clinton's downtown. I witnessed their unselfish work to utilize public grants and available funds, doing it with their personal knowledge to provide for a better Clinton for all. This is a matter of public support, and your voice is important to the committee members. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion under Article 16? Sir? Okay, motion is made to move the question. Is there a second to that motion? Okay. You may now be voting on whether to end debate on Article 16, not on the article itself. All those in favor of ending debate requires a two-thirds vote. Please raise your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. We have ended debate on Article 16, and we'll vote on it now. This article, having the approval of your Finance Committee, having $1.5 million in borrowing, requires a two-thirds vote for passage. All those in favor of Article 16, please raise your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 17.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire by gift, purchase, or eminent domain any and all permanent and/or temporary easements for the purpose of repairing, improving, or reconstructing streets, sidewalks, drainage facilities, and appurtenances, I don't know how to say that word, related thereto in connection with the High Street and Church Street reconstruction project, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to take all steps necessary, including executing documents and appropriating from available funds money necessary for such acquisitions upon such terms and conditions as the Board of Selectmen deem to be in the best interest in the town, of the town.
Second.
Article number 17 have been made and seconded, dealing with authorizing the Board of Selectmen to acquire by gift, purchase, or eminent domain any permanent structures or easements they may need to do to do the High Street and Church Street project. Is there any, this is Finance Committee approved. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 17? There being none. All in favor, please raise your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 18.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to borrow the sum of $640,000, said sum to be expended by the Clinton Public Schools for the repair or replacement of the roof at the middle school.
Second.
Article number 18 have been made and seconded, dealing with borrowing $640,000 to repair and or replace the roof at the Clinton Middle School. Finance Committee approved. Borrowing article requiring a two-thirds vote for passage. Any questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 19.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $140,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Public Works for the purchase of a new one-ton truck with catch basin cleaner.
Second.
Article 19 have been made and seconded, dealing with $140,000 for a new one-ton truck with a catch basin cleaner for the Department of Public Works. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? Finance Committee approved. There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. All in favor, please raise your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Yes. Come on up.
I would like to move that we vote on Article 46 at this time.
Okay, it's a motion to vote on Article 46 at this time. Is there a second to that motion? Second. Okay, let me just explain a little bit about that for now. As a general rule, we don't allow people to move articles. I allowed it one night at a previous meeting when I wasn't around so long, and it got kind of chaotic. However, I'm going to let you decide if you want to move this one. The reason being, this article was on the warrant last year, and there was a quorum check, and this was at the end of the warrant, and it never got heard. So the decision will be yours whether to allow them to move it, not mine. So I don't think we need a lot of discussion on it unless someone has something they want to say about moving it. If not, all right, at this point, all in favor of voting on Article 46 at this time, please indicate by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Boy. Once again, I'm gonna ask you to raise your cards real high, and one card per hand, okay? All those in favor of voting on Article 46 at this time, please raise your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Can I have my tellers up front? I really can't tell.
I'm gonna run and use the bathroom. Oh, but I've gotta.
Once again, all those in favor of voting on Article 46 at this time, raise your card, and you can leave your card in the air until you know you have been counted.
That's yes, right?
One on the balcony.
What is it? Right, but they usually. Thank you. Now, all those opposed to moving Article 46, please raise your card now, please. As soon as you know you have been counted, you can drop your hand.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Well, who's gonna make the motion? Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, I've got that right. I don't have my motions in front of me. Son of a gun, where are they? That's my motions, yeah. Well, yes,
I mean, it looks so close. Okay, the vote is 120 to 67 to move the article to vote on it now. So we will do that. So we're now we're voting on Article 46. I want to caution anyone else who's thinking about this. I only allowed this vote because there was some sort of a legitimate reason based on what happened last year. I'm not going to entertain it because I want to go home or, you know, or my friends are here or something like that. So, okay, Article 46.
Article 46. Mr. Moderator, I make a motion to move Article 46 to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court for special legislation to authorize the Board of Selectmen to grant to Chapter 138, Section 15 all alcohol package store license to 1044 Main Street, Clinton LLC, for premises located at 1044 Main Street, Clinton, Mass., notwithstanding the limitation on the number of such licenses which may be granted or act in any manner related thereon.
Second.
Article number 46, having been made and seconded, what this is a convenience store that has a beer and wine license, would like to expand it to a full liquor license on a package store basis. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 46? There being none, all, sir?
Brendan Bailey, 24 Simon Court. I would just ask, in the last year, if this package store has had any violations. Before we asked to put a liquor license, a full liquor license, if they've had any violations as a normal package store.
Is anyone from the police department here who would like to answer that?
Or Brothers Liquors?
Apparently not, so, where are we? Oh, there we are. Chief Levenger is here. Okay. One of their workers was underage? No? Do we have the right store? I want to make sure we have the right store. This is down across the street from Shaw's, to the right of Dunkin' Donuts down there, in that place. Okay. Okay, Chief, would you come up and, thank you. Chief
Mark
Levenger.
Lovinger, I'm the chief of police in town, and approximately 6 weeks ago, ABC was doing a routine check, and there was a violation down at, I believe it's Brothers Convenience on Main Street. I think this is the property in question, and one of their cashiers who was underage checked out a person that was of legal age, and that was the violation that we were notified by the ABCC.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions, comments, or discussion under Article 46? Sir? Well, tabling would be in effect to defeat it. I mean, if you want to make a motion to table, we can do that. It requires a 2/3 vote to table, however. Motion is made to table. Is there a second to that motion? Okay. Motion is made to table Article 46, requiring a 2/3 vote to table. Sir? We're under the motion to table now, so.
John Woodsmall, 17 James Street. Before we table the question, I guess I'm asking people to not table this question, as I have some follow-up questions in terms of if we're going to start. I have some additional follow-up questions regarding why are we going through this process for these particular for this particular package store? What other violations have other package stores in town been subject to? And why are we singling out this particular one for not making changes? So obviously we're not asking that question right now because the question is to whether to table it or not. So I just ask you to not table the question so we can discuss this and talk about why we want to not prevent a business in town from expanding its business. Thank you.
Okay. All those, we'll take a vote on the table right now. All those in favor of tabling Article 46, please indicate by raising your card now.
Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. Okay, we're not tabling the article. We're still under Article 46. Is there any further discussion under Article 46? Ma'am?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Trina Wraith. I just took over management over at Brothers Beer, Wine, and Postal. We did have an infraction 6 weeks ago, but it has been written up wrong. The person who sold to the minor was of age, but it did happen. From that point, we have taken on procedures. We are now training our staff to be TIPS trained, and we no longer have that employee working for us. We are making all efforts to make sure that that doesn't happen in future. Since we've opened, we've truly enjoyed being part of the community. And during our time of ownership, our customer base has continued to expand due in large part to our unique selection of craft beers and wine. We've come before the town tonight to ask that we be allowed to petition the state for a full liquor license. This will enable us to expand our business now to include fine spirits. If we can obtain a full liquor license, this will provide unique offerings to the community. Thank you for allowing us to be heard tonight.
Any further discussion under Article 46? If not, we'll take a vote at this time. Again, this is a convenience store that would like to go to a full liquor license from a beer and wine they have now, and it's located to the right of Dunkin' Donuts across from Shaw's. All those in favor of Article 46, please indicate by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Okay, the article is passed. No. Yes. Is a motion to reconsider Article 46 that you just passed. Is there a second to that? Second. Okay, if you vote, it's a motion to reconsider Article 46. If you vote yes, you will reopen the article. If you vote no, it will remain passed for the duration of this meeting. All those in favor of reconsidering Article 46, please indicate by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. There will be no further consideration of Article 46 this evening. Article 20.
Article 20, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote, appropriate, and transfer from the Capital Projects and Infrastructure Improvement Stabilization Fund the sum of $1,500,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Public Works for road resurfacing and improvements as approved by the Board of Selectmen.
Second.
Article number 20 have been made and seconded, dealing with a sum of $1.5 million to raise and transfer from the stabilization fund for capital projects and infrastructure improvements. And this is involved in paving streets. In my discussions with the DPW superintendent, his first priority is Berlin Street. He's talking about Greeley Street and some other side streets that may come up. And that's what this money is for. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article, which is Finance Committee approved? This requires a 2/3 vote for passage. All those in favor, please signify by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 21.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $200,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Public Works for drainage system improvements on Pleasant Street, Marshall Street, Liberty Street, Summit Street, and Wilson Street.
Second.
Article number 21, dealing with the sum of $200,000 to deal with some of the drainage issues on the streets listed on your warrant: Pleasant, Marshall, Liberty Street, Summit Street, and Wilson Street. Finance Committee approved. Coming from the stabilization account requires a 2/3 vote. Am I right?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay, I guess that's been switched now. They're taking it from free cash, so it only requires a majority vote. Any questions, comments, or discussion under Article 21? There being none. All in favor, please signify by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 22.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate from the landfill closure reserve the sum of $1 million, said sum to be expended by the Department of Public Works for the South Meadow Pond dredging and Phase 1 landfill closure project and all related work.
Second.
Article number 22, dealing with a sum of $1 million for the South Meadow Pond dredging from the landfill closure reserve money. This is part of a $2.5 million from Article 12 that you already passed. Finance Committee approved. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 23.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 20 of the Massachusetts General Laws, the sum of $229,445 from the water meter replacement project authorized under Article 13 of the 2013 annual town meeting to be used for a sewer inflow and infiltration study and related sewer system improvements.
Second.
Article number 23, dealing with a sum of $229,445. This money is left over from previously appropriated money to do the water meters in your home. And this money was left over. And this article and Article 24 are related. The DPW is suggesting that this remaining money be put into a sewer inflow and infiltration study and related sewer system improvements. Finance Committee approved. Questions, comments, being a transfer, question, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none. All in favor, please signify by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 24.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to borrow from the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund the sum of $460,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Public Works for a sewer inflow and infiltration study and related sewer system improvements.
Second.
Article number 24, dealing with $460,000 in addition to the article you just passed of 229, also for the sewer inflow and infiltration study and related sewer system improvements. Finance Committee approved. Is a borrowing article, requires a two-thirds vote for passage. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 24? There being none, all in favor, please raise your card now. Thank you. And those opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 25.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to borrow from the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund the sum of $950,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Public Works for exterior painting and installation of a disinfection byproduct removal system at the Birded Hill tank and for interior and exterior painting and installation of mixing valve system at the Mulberry water tank.
Second.
Article number 25 has been made and seconded, dealing with $950,000 for work being done on the Birded Hill water tank and the Mulberry water tank on the acre. Finance Committee approved. Borrowing article requires a two-thirds vote for passage. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none. All in favor, please indicate by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. It's passed unanimously. Article 26.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to borrow from the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund the sum of $50,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Public Works for studies, permitting, in connection with dam removal assessments at the Weeki-Peeki property in Sterling.
Second.
Article number 26, dealing with borrowing $50,000 for the Department of Public Works for studies, permitting, in connection with the dam removal access for the Weeki-Peeki property in Sterling that we own. Finance Committee approved. Questions, comments, or discussion? A borrowing article requires a two-thirds vote for passage. All those in favor, please signify by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 27.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $200,000, said sum to be expended by the police chief for the purchase of and installation of a cloud-based record management software system for police and fire reports.
Second.
Article number 27, dealing with the sum of $200,000 to be expended by the police chief for the purchase of installation of a cloud-based records management software system for the police department. This article is also Finance Committee approved. Questions, comments, and discussion under the article? There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? The article is passed. Article 28.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $185,000 and to borrow the sum of $365,000, said sums to be used by the fire department for the purchase of a new fire engine.
Second.
Article number 28 have been made and seconded, dealing with a sum of $185,000 from free cash and $365,000 as a borrowing, which requires a two-thirds vote for passage for a new fire engine for the Clinton Fire Department. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There's the approval of your Finance Committee. There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 29.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the filing of special legislation to allow for the Board of Selectmen to appoint 2 alternate members of the Conservation Commission for staggered terms not to exceed 3 years, whereby the chair of the commission may designate an alternate member to sit on the commission in the case of absence, inability to act, or conflict of interest on the part of a member of the commission, or in the event of a vacancy on the commission until the vacancy is filled under Section 8C of Chapter 40.
Second.
Article 29 have been made and seconded, dealing with the Conservation Commission. They're seeking 2 alternate members due to the possibility, and what can happen is conflicts of interest, vacation schedules, or someone resigning and they need to fill it. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 29? There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 30.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept the provisions under Chapter 32, Section 20A, to indemnify members of the Clinton Retirement Board to the same extent as provided for public employees under Chapter 258 in connection with the defense of any civil action defended by an attorney employed by said board and arising out of acts performed by such members while acting within the scope of his or her official duties.
Second.
Article number 30 have been made and seconded, dealing with the Clinton Retirement Board. The members are looking for the same protections that other elected officials have in terms of any lawsuit that may be brought up because of actions they take. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 30? There being none, all in favor, please raise your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 31.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the administrative bylaws by adding a new article captioned Transfers from the Landfill Enterprise Fund to the Capital Projects and Infrastructure Improvement Stabilization Fund as set forth for the purpose of establishing guidelines for the transfer of funds from the Landfill Enterprise Fund to the Capital Projects Infrastructure Improvement Stabilization Fund. Mr. Moderator, I further move to dispense with the reading of the remainder of the article.
Second.
Okay, Article number 31 have been made and seconded. They're looking to amend the administrative bylaws. The legislature has already approved this, but we have not created a bylaw for this yet in town, and that's what this is for, to create a bylaw to go along with the legislature approved act. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 32.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the administrative bylaws of the town of Clinton by deleting Article 14, Free Public Library Trustees, and inserting a new Article 14, Bigelow Free Public Library. Mr. Moderator, I further move to dispense with the reading of the remainder of this article.
Second.
Article number 32 have been made and seconded. What happens is town government here is operated and controlled by the Clinton Town bylaws of 1914, and that's when the article for the library was written. It has been amended over the years in certain areas, but apparently not under the library. They would like to bring this up to the 20th century. So they are requesting that this article be approved, would replace the existing bylaw for the town and create a more modern bylaw under which the library would be governed. Ma'am.
Gloria Parkinson, 90 Haskell Avenue, a member of the Board of Library Trustees. Just a little background about the existing article, as Moderator Hogan referred. What? Back, forward?
Speak into the microphone.
Oh, more. Okay. How's that?
Okay,
Oh, yes,
that's
I can
better.
hear myself. Okay. So just a bit of background about the existing article. The library was built in 1902. The trustees believe that those existing articles go back to 1914 and maybe earlier. So what we are bringing before you are updated bylaws, and while a considerable amount of content remains essentially the same, changes in the proposed updated bylaws before you tonight reflect the changes coming from various sources. So here we go. 1. Massachusetts general laws that pertain to libraries. 2. Massachusetts employment laws. These are the laws the town of Clinton adheres to vis-a-vis town employees, such as library staff. 3. Town of Clinton employment policies and procedures as administered by the town's personnel board. And 4. Guidelines of the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners as found in the MBLC's Library Trustees Handbook. And just for those who are not familiar, the MBLC is the state agency that accredits state libraries and supports accredited libraries with state aid, such as the Bigelow Free Public Library. It is also the state agency that awards library planning and design and construction grants to successful municipal applicants. So on behalf of the Board of Library Trustees, I respectfully ask you to vote in support of the proposed updated library board that encompass now the laws of the state and the procedures and policies of our town. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion under the article? Article 32. If there being none, all in favor, please indicate by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 33.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the administrative bylaws of the town of Clinton by deleting Article 3, duties of the selectmen, Section 11, and inserting new Section 11 to establish new guidelines relative to the disposition of surplus town property. Mr. Moderator, I further move to dispense with the reading of the remainder of the article.
Second.
Article number 33 have been made and seconded, dealing with, depending upon the value of the property, how the town would dispense with property that is obsolete, antiquated, or no longer needed by the town. And there's one guideline for under $500, another guideline for between $500 and $2,500, and another guideline for $2,500 or more. I won't read all that. I will suffice to say that the chief procurement officer is rather mentioned CPO in the article. That refers to the administrative assistant, who is presently Michael Ward, who would deal with a lot of this. Questions, comments, and discussion under Article 33? Sir.
Jeff Swan, 132 Franklin Street. I'd like to propose an amendment. This article, I have no problems with the article itself. This article relies heavily on Massachusetts Law 30B, which is a general law, and states on how the items procurement is done and how things are disposed of. Particular law leaves a broad area to the town as to how it builds its procedures to do so. In reading the
So
particular...
what is your amendment, sir? Read
The
your
amendment is that in all cases outlined in Article 33, the CPO should be required to maintain a publicly available and accessible list of all items deemed surplus that are disposed of via Article 33, Section 11. This list should consist of date of disposal, item description, price of item, or bartered value, acquiring person or entity, simply to make sure that
Okay.
there is no
Hold
sense
up,
of...
hold up.
There's a sense
We've got
of
an
transparency.
amendment. Is there a second to that proposed amendment? Okay, there is. Under discussion, go ahead.
So my only reason for that is under the way the article is currently written, there is no actual central list. So if someone said, and there are several spots within the article as it's written where there is discretion allowed, where in fact people can say, it's my personal decision, this is worth X or Y. So to prevent people from later saying, oh, I think that there was a sweetheart deal involved, if we maintained a list that stated what was bartered or sold and what it was sold for, at which time and who it was sold to, this would allow a transparency level that would prevent that kind of accusation in the future.
Okay, you have that? Yeah. Okay, the proposed amendment is the CPO would be required to maintain a publicly available and accessible list of items deemed surplus that are disposed of via Article 33, Section 2. This list should consist of the date of disposal, the item description, the price of the item, and the acquiring person or or entity that acquired the article. Any questions? Right now we're on the proposed amendment. Any questions, comments, or discussion on the amendment to the article? Ma'am. Come on up, come on up.
Rebecca Gray, 15 Ross Street here in Clinton. You said Section 2 of Article 33. I believe we're discussing Section 11 of Article 33.
Oh.
So I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, thank you. That, it's written 1-1. I presume that to be 2. It's really 11. Good point. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or discussion on the amendment to Article 33? There being none, all those in favor of the proposed amendment, please indicate by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? The article is amended as we've just stated. We're now under the article as amended. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none, take a vote at this time. All those in favor of Article 33 as amended, please raise your card. Thank you. And opposed? The article is passed unanimously. Article 34.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the administrative bylaws by adding a new article to adopt the Stretch Energy Code as set forth below for the purpose of regulating the design and construction of buildings for the effective use of energy pursuant to Appendix 115.AA of the Massachusetts Building Code, 780 Code of Massachusetts Regulation, the Stretch Energy Code, including future additions, amendments, or modifications thereto, with an effective date of January 1st, 2020.
Second.
Article number 34 have been made and seconded. My understanding this deals with new construction projects, is what I'm told. And I don't have more for you than that. Is there any questions, comments, or discussion? Mr. Duffy, could you just, is this just new, if this is new additions, would that come under this or no? Do you know?
Phil Duffy, 260 Church Street, Community and Economic Development Director. This October, the town intends to seek designation from the state as a green community. This designation will allow the town to apply for I'm sorry, can you? Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay, how's that? Okay. This October, the town intends to seek designation as a green community from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This designation will allow the community to apply for grants and other technical assistance as it strives to implement energy efficiency measures, cost-saving measures. One requirement for a community that seeks this designation is that a town adopt a stretch code. The stretch code is a kind of a deluxe version of the building code elements that deal with energy efficiency. Currently, 266 of the Commonwealth's 351 cities and towns have already adopted the stretch code, including all of our neighbors save Sterling and Boylston. So this is not uncharted territory. Well more than 3/4 of the people in Massachusetts live under the stretch code currently. The stretch code would require that builders of new construction that they basically comply with the requirements, which mostly have to do with testing and the manner in which you demonstrate compliance with the bylaw, with the code. Additions and renovations are exempt. Most commercial structures under 100,000 square feet are also exempt. So in short, if you're a builder and you're working in other communities, you're probably used to this. If you are a prospective homeowner, the state estimates that this would cost, would add an additional $700 to $1,300 to the cost of an average dwelling, but that cost is usually recaptured in savings within a few years. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion under Article 34? There being none, take a vote at this time. All in favor of Article 34 indicate by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 35.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaws of the town of Clinton by inserting a new section, 3500, mixed-use downtown residential. 3500, mixed-use downtown residential. 3510, purpose. This zoning bylaw shall encourage the creation of conversion of existing structures and creation of a new mixed-use commercial and residential structures in Clinton's downtown and along commercial nodes to support Clinton's local economy and meet local housing needs. Mr. Moderator, I further move to dispense with the reading of the remainder of this article.
Second.
Article number 35 having been made and seconded, a zoning article change. It's long. If you look on the next page, it talks about the minimum square footage for any new apartments that would be built. The first floor of mixed-use structures must be primarily dedicated to a commercial use with no more than 20% of the first floor area serving upper story residential uses, such as for the customary provision of an entrance, lobby, elevator, and the like. Questions, comments, or discussion under this proposed zoning change? Sir.
Again, Phil Duffy, 260 Church Street. On Monday, May 28th, the Planning Board held a public hearing in connection with the zoning article and voted 3-0 to recommend it to the floor of town meeting. This is the first of 4 zoning articles that are before you this evening. The first 3 deal with zoning provisions as they relate to the creation of multifamily dwellings. The 4th article will be kind of a housekeeping article that addresses a couple minor inconsistencies in our existing bylaw that was last substantially revisited in 2001. Speaking to Article 35, Article 35, its primary intent is to incentivize investment in downtown buildings, and it proposes to do so by allowing for the as-of-right creation of residential dwelling units on the upper floors of buildings in the downtown. Again, this is not a game changer. There are probably 280 units of housing in downtown already on upper floors, but there are still a handful of buildings that for decades have existed as either substantially underutilized or not utilized at all. This will allow potential investors, provide some potential investors a degree of certainty as they contemplate making investments in their property. Allows them the opportunity to realize a return. The bylaw stipulates minimum unit sizes depending on the number of bedrooms. It stipulates parking requirements. It also provides some guidance as to, as Mr. Hogan mentioned, some limitations on the amount of ground floor area that can be used for the residential units and other things pertaining to design. I'll stop at that. I'm happy to answer any questions, but in the interest of time, I'll leave my presentation at that. Thank you.
Is there any further questions, comments, or discussion under 35, sir?
Jeff Swan, 132 Franklin Street. Is there a clear definition of the word downtown? Are there boundaries? I mean, the word downtown is throughout the article. I see no definition that says downtown is this street to this street. It's just downtown, which is like saying it's an area. It doesn't define what we're actually voting on.
Well, I think you're right, it's an area, so.
So I ask again, is there a
Mr.
clear
Duffy?
definition of the word downtown?
For the purposes of this bylaw, the downtown that which I refer is the BR district, or the BR zoning district, which if you have that handout, is indicated on the map, and that area substantially encompasses what we consider to be the downtown. The bylaw would allow for the as-of-right conversion to dwelling units in the BR district, and would also allow for the special permit conversion of uses in the C district, the commercial district, and the R1 district. And the reason for that is because the district boundaries are not quite neat. For instance, you all know the old Georgeson's grocery store on North Main Street, north of the railroad bridge. It just so happens that that building, I don't believe, is in the BR district, but is of a type with everything else. Sorry. So in short, the definition of downtown as pertains to this article is the BR district, which is a delineated zone shown on the maps in your handout, which substantially describes what we consider to be the downtown.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion? Ma'am?
Rebecca Gray, 15 Ross Street here in Clinton. I have 3 questions in no particular order. Is there going to be a push for these housing units to be accessible, including elevators as necessary? Will there be a push for affordable housing in these downtown units? And finally, are these new housing units going to be required to have sprinklers? That's it.
Anybody want to tackle that, Mr. Duffy?
The bylaw is silent as to whether these are created as affordable units. The other 2 questions having to do with whether they are sprinkler accessible, those requirements are part and parcel of other codes that pertain to new construction, fire code, and accessibility code, which is 521 CMR. So normally zoning doesn't refer to those specifically. Zoning may refer to whether units are designated as affordable, but that is not what is contemplated in this bylaw. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion under the proposed article? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. It's a zoning change requiring... Sir? Okay. Zoning change requiring a 2/3 vote for passage. All those in favor of Article 35 as written, please raise your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Okay, the article is passed. Article 36.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw of the town of Clinton by inserting a new Section 7300, conversion of existing structures. Section 7300, conversion of existing structures. 7310, purpose. The purpose of this zoning bylaw is to support the preservation and protection of the architectural integrity of historic residential structures in Clinton by allowing for interior conversions of floor area to 2-family or multifamily housing, thereby increasing the financial viability of such structures. Mr. Moderator, I further move to dispense with the reading of the remainder of this article.
Second.
Article number 36 having been made and seconded, dealing with zoning change for conversions of existing structures. I also am not going to read this, so it's rather long. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? Mr. Duffy.
Phil Duffy, 260 Church Street. On Monday, May 28th, the planning board held a public hearing on this article and voted 3-0 to recommend it to the floor of town meeting. This article proposes to actually restore an amendment to our zoning bylaw that existed prior to 2001, and that was a bylaw that provided for the conversion of existing dwellings to multifamily dwellings. It is intended primarily for the R1 district and stipulates minimum size of a building eligible for consideration for a special permit. Also stipulates other requirements having to do with unit size, parking requirements, etc. This comes in part out of analysis done by a consultant who was hired by the planning board with money given to it by last year's town meeting. And one revealing component of that consultant's analysis was that 59% of the town of Clinton could not be created under our current zoning bylaw. In short, we created a bylaw that didn't allow us to make any more of the Clinton that most of us liked. If you live in the R1 district, which is the residential neighborhoods closer to the downtown, it's very likely that you already have a two-family or a multifamily house on your street. This would again allow for the creation of new housing inventory, which appears to be in alignment with emerging housing needs. We are becoming a grayer society. We're becoming a society where new residents are more averse to purchasing properties, as well as to create units for people in different stages of life, and it would allow for reinvestment in existing structures that comply with the zoning bylaw. In the interest of time, I'll stop there. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion under Article 36? Zoning bylaw change as well, requiring a 2/3 vote for passage. Sir.
Jeff Swan, 130 Franklin Street. This bylaw is not specific to downtown, correct? This is town-wide.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, requires a 2/3 vote. We'll take a vote at this time. All those in favor of Article 36 as written, please raise your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 37.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaws of the town of Clinton by inserting regulations and standards related to multi-family housing, including amendments to Section 4130, Table of Dimensional Requirements, Section 5100, Table of Parking Requirements, and the inclusion of a new Section 9457, Site Plan Design Standards for Multifamily Housing. Mr. Moderator, I further move that we dispense with the reading of the remainder of this article.
Second.
Article 37 have been made and second. Yet another zoning bylaw change dealing with parking on the next page for new parking spaces required for new dwelling units. The dimension requirements on the first page as you start. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? Mr. Duffy.
Again, Phil Duffy, 260 Church Street. On Monday, May 28th, the Planning Board held a public hearing to review the proposed amendment to zoning bylaw and voted 3-0 to recommend it to the floor of town meeting. This article, again, addresses multifamily dwellings in zoning. It addresses the performance standards of zoning. It's composed of 3 parts. The amendment to Section 4130 only clarifies the existing bylaw. It has to do with the dimensional requirements for lots considered for multifamily. It doesn't change the dimensional requirements except in the C district, because that previously said NA, and there was always a question whether that NA meant not allowed or not applicable. The new Section 4130 is more explicit. In fact, it's not allowed in the industrial district, and it specifies the commercial district's area requirement. Section 5100, performance criteria establishes the number of parking spaces required for multifamily dwellings, and the new Section 9457 is a set of design standards that pertain specifically to multifamily housing, and it effectively strongly advises applicants to consider their context, build buildings that look residential, suggest good design, and most importantly, gives developers, applicants, an idea of what the board will be looking for when they come before the board. Thank you. In the interest of time, I'll stop there, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is there any further questions, comments, or discussion under Article 37? There being none, also requiring a 2/3 vote for passage. Oh, okay. All those in favor, please signify by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 38.
Article 38, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town to amend the zoning bylaws of the town of Clinton to insert the following amendments. Allow for multiple principal structures on the same lot by special permit, alter lot area computation, alter parking area design requirements, allow a waiver of the land use ratio for mill conversion / plan developments by special permit, and clarify special permit requirements for site plan review and plan requirements. Mr. Moderator, I further move that we dispense with the reading of the remainder of this article.
Second.
Article 38, Hemmer made and seconded, zoning article change, as per written in your warrant. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? Mr. Duff.
Hello again. I'm told to speak up, so hopefully you can hear me. Phil Duffy, 260 Church Street. On May 28th, the Planning Board held a public hearing to review the proposed article and voted 3-0 to recommend it to the floor of town meeting. This article is in large a housekeeping article. It proposes to change the wording on a few items which are listed in the header for the article, having to do with one structure per lot, lot area computation for multifamily dwellings units, some parking changes. Let's see. Language and flexible development to bring into consistency, the language under the plan unit development to allow developers, for applicants to figure out their own mix of uses rather than having to be stipulated by the town. And then a section 2, basically in the order of indexing, to refer to section 9400, the special permit, the site plan review provisions in section 9300, just to make it clear to people. I do have an amendment to make to the article. I'd like to give to the... The amendment is to include the following language. It's an amendment to section 5100, the table of parking requirements. It is to say, the table of parking requirements for principal use A.5, planned unit development / mill conversion. Number of parking spaces will be changed from reading C section 8200 to
Okay.
C
Excuse me,
section
is there a,
7200.
before we go too far, is there a second to this motion, this amendment change? Okay, now, go
Okay.
ahead.
And again, that's just in the order of bookkeeping. Our existing bylaw misidentifies the reference section. So again, this is really just some bookkeeping. Happy to answer any questions that people may have. Thank you.
Okay, is there any questions, comments, and discussion under the amendment to Article 38? There being none. All in favor, please signify by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The amendment is passed. So now we're looking at Article 38 as amended. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none, take a vote at this time. 2/3 vote required for passage. All those in favor, please signify by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 39.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to declare the real properties owned by the town and located at 329 High Street and 172 Sterling Street as surplus properties and available for disposition, thereby enabling the Board of Selectmen to solicit proposals from potential purchasers of the properties in accordance with Chapter 30B of the Massachusetts General Laws.
Second.
Article number 39, dealing with the two properties involved. 329 High Street is the garage on the corner of High and Water that the town now owns. It's vacant. And the other was 172 Sterling Street, the former Rock Besto site, which is also vacant. Instead of just auctioning it off, which is what the town usually does, and taking the highest bidder, they're suggesting we go to you give the selectmen authority to deal with it and get a proposal better than you might get by just auctioning it off. When, I can tell you when the Rock Besto site was auctioned off a few years ago, not 3-4 years ago, it went for $30-something thousand. But that person ended up, because of environmental concerns, ended up turning the property over to the town. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 39? There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 40.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept a private way known as Prescott Lane as a public way in the town of Clinton, as shown on a plan on file in the office of the town clerk and available for public inspection during regular town hall business hours.
Second.
Article number 40 has been made and seconded, dealing with accepting Prescott Lane as a public way of the town of Clinton. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 41.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept the open space areas consisting of 5.45 acres and 3.08 acres as shown on a plan of land entitled The Villages at Bufton Farm, definitive subdivision of land in Clinton, Mass., prepared for 2100 Corp. Scale 1 inch equals 40 feet, August 2003, which plan is recorded with the Worcester District Registry of Deeds in Plan Book 845, Plan 4, and a plan of land entitled The Villages at Bufton Farm, modification of the definitive subdivision of land, Clinton, Mass., owned by 2100 Corporation, scale 1 inch equals 40 feet, March 2013, prepared by David E. Ross Associates Incorporated, civil engineers, land surveyors, environmental consultants, which plan is recorded with the Worcester District Registry of Deeds in Plan Book 902, Plan 88.
Second.
Article 41 have been made and seconded, dealing with, the town is asking you to accept the open space the developer promised when they built out Bufton Farms. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 42.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept Lot 7 and Lot 12 and those areas marked as open space on a plan of land entitled Definitive Subdivision Modification Nathan Heights Phase 1, Clinton, Massachusetts, a flexible development plan prepared for owner G&B Investments, LLC, 2100 Lakeview Avenue, Dracut, Massachusetts, 01826, scale 1 inch equals 200 feet, June 11th, 2004, prepared by Cuckoo and Cormier Engineering Associates Incorporated, civil engineers, land surveyor, environmental sciences, 170 Main Street, Unit 112, Tewksbury, Mass. 01876, which plan is recorded with the Worcester County Registry of Deeds at Plan Book 820, Plan 6.
Second.
Article number 42 have been made and seconded, dealing with another acceptance of open space, this time the Nathan Heights area. Same situation where the developer promised it to the town. We are now asking you to accept it. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 42? Sir, or ma'am, or whatever, I can't see, I'm sorry. Now you know why I'm retiring.
Franny Hodge, 16 Harbor Street. I just wanted a clarification on what you mean by open space. Does that mean that the town will keep it as protected open space and there will be a conservation restriction on those lots?
Is there anyone?
The town's accepting open space, but you know, what do you mean by that?
I would say there's probably no plans to do anything with it right now. Mr. Duffy, do you know anything about it, or? Is there any plans to do anything with the open space in the Bufton Farms area that this article addresses?
Philadelphia 260 Church Street, we have to go way into the Wayback Machine because this project was approved, I believe, in 1999 or 2000. At the time these projects were approved and subsequently amended, the developer agreed to convey a lot, I believe at the corner of Hillside and JFK, to the town, with the idea that it could be developed as a kind of pocket park or neighborhood park. That subsequently, the project was amended and then took advantage of our flexible development bylaw to create some open space that went from the back of the property down to the National River, and also reoriented the new street, whose name I can't remember, the extension over the old St. Jude Ave, so that it angled away from the houses on JFK and gave people more of a buffer. You weren't looking out your back window into somebody else's back window. Whatever definition applies will be in that decision. I can't quote it, but I think if it was under flexible development, it would have been dedicated explicitly as open space. And if it's a part of the original one, the idea was that that lot at the corner of Hillside and JFK could be developed as a neighborhood park. And that's not the lot that's up. Okay, okay. Then okay, thanks, I didn't know that. That's what I know.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion under Article 42? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. All in favor of Article 42, please signify by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 43.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to acquire by gift a parcel of land on Pondview Drive for the maintenance of the water line, said parcel being known as Parcel A, consisting of 11,755 square feet as shown on a plan of land entitled Land in Clinton, Massachusetts, Boston and Maine Corporation to South Meadow Way Realty Trust, dated May 1st, 2014, drawn by New England Engineering Group, said plan being recorded with the Registry of Worcester Registry of Deeds in Plan Book 907, Plan 36, being the same parcel conveyed to South Meadow Way Realty Trust by deed recorded in Book 56-137, page 302.
Second.
Article number 43 has been made and seconded. What this is a parcel of land on Pondview Drive. Apparently our water lines run under this land and it's not the town's. And part of the road is on top of the land and that's not the town's either. So what the gentleman who owns it is suggesting, rather than get into right-of-ways and so forth, is that he just donate the town to us so that we don't have to deal with that and accept that piece of land so that we would now own the land that the street is on and also the water line underneath it. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none, all in favor of Article 43, please indicate by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 44.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to grant a utility easement over town-owned land on South Meadow Road in connection with potential private property solar arrays, thereby enabling the Board of Selectmen to solicit proposals for use of such utility easements and benefits to the town therefrom in accordance with Chapter 30B of the Massachusetts General Laws as applicable.
Second.
Article 44 made and seconded, dealing with granting a utility easement over town-owned land to some other land with the potential to create solar arrays for the town. So you would need to grant the easement if you wanted that to happen. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? Requires a 2/3 vote for passage. All in favor of this article, please indicate by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 45.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court for special legislation to authorize the Board of Selectmen to grant a Chapter 138, Section 15, all alcohol package store license to Super Summit, Inc. for premises located at 1183 Main Street, Clinton, Mass., notwithstanding the limitation on the number of such licenses which may be enacted or act in any way thereon.
Second.
Article 45 has been made and seconded, similar to Article 46 that you already passed, a different location. This one, well, location-wise, if you're in the street looking at Shaw's, to the left, there's an abandoned gas station, and just beyond that, there's a small plaza with a convenience store there that has a beer and wine license, and they are seeking to increase it to a full package license. Questions on by citizens petition, questions, comments, or discussion under the article? If you approve it, it would go to the legislature for their approval, and then they would have it if you choose to do it. If there is no discussion, we'll take a vote at this time. All in favor of Article 45 as written, please indicate by your card. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 47.
Mr. Moderator, I move to table Article 47.
Article number 47, a motion has been made to table that. It is asking the town to appropriate money not to exceed $10,000 to purchase a storage unit for Fuller Field at the upcoming town meeting. It was a citizen's petition written out. The Finance Committee has disapproved it, and there is now a motion to table it. All those, table requires a 2/3 vote. All in favor of tabling Article 47, indicate by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Once more. All in favor of tabling, raise your card. And opposed? Okay, the tabling is defeated. It required a 2/3 vote. That's why it's defeated. So we'll now vote on Article 47, or any discussion, let's say first. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Moderator, I hope that this article will not pass. I think it's a bad precedent. I wish the Clinton youth football and cheerleaders well, but I think it is a bad precedent for the town to be purchasing storage facilities for private entities. That's my opinion.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion under Article 47? Sir.
Jim Tumalo, 3 Shore Lane, Chairman of the Finance Committee. Anything that happens in Fuller Field should have been proposed by Fuller Field, and we should have had the information from Fuller Field. Talked to a few people on the Fuller Field Commission. They really don't have the information, and I don't think we want to put a container down there. I mean, we put a lot of money in that field, looks beautiful. If they proposed it, we should consider it. It wasn't proposed by them. I don't believe that we should vote yes on this article. Thank you.
Still under discussion, sir.
Greg Nelson, 36 John F. Kennedy Ave. I'd like to make an amendment to this article. I'd like to see if we could get permission for the youth football to be able to use some of the vacant locker rooms for storage down there. It won't cost the town anything, and I think it would be a nice
Well,
amendment.
all right. That's not a problem. Did you hear? I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to rule that out of order. It's totally unrelated to the article, and we have to address I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I think you've got to bring it to the Fuller Field Commission, and they would have authority over that. Okay? It's just not, it doesn't relate to the article. The article is asking for money for something else. So we have to stay with that. Any questions, comments, or discussion under the article? Yes.
John Wood Small, 17 James Street. I'm not speaking to the validity of the request, but more just a procedural question that if this is voted and approved, there's nothing that states where the money is being appropriated from. And I would suggest that if any of the petitioners wanted to actually see this happen, just approving this vote as is doesn't mean anything because there's no money associated with it. And the source of the money needs to be identified, which would have to be amended unless it's coming out of free cash somehow.
I'm sorry.
So I would suggest that, of course, this raises issues with the budget being closed already, but if you want this to happen, you need to identify where the money is coming from, and just simply asking for it to be appropriated doesn't work, and somebody would need to amend that motion.
Okay. Just as a point, there is no method of appropriation in this. He's right. Doesn't mean it can't be amended, but right now, that's how it's stated, that's how it's written. The town is required to print this as written from a citizen's petition, which is what this is. That's why it's on your warrant in this fashion. Mr. Conley?
Mr. Moderator, where this is a Finance Committee disapproved article, does that mean it's a ballot vote?
Because it's ballot votes are over 25,000. This is only 10. The next one would be a ballot vote, the last article. We will vote on this. I'm not sure, given that there's no appropriation, where it will go, but I think we will vote on it and see where it goes. Unless there's any further discussion. Article 47, dealing with $10,000 for a storage unit for Fuller Field, proposed by the Clinton Youth Football and Cheerleading. Finance Committee disapproved. All those in favor, it's a hand majority vote. All those in favor of Article 47, please indicate by raising your card now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you, Art. Article 47 is defeated.
Mr. Moderator.
Article 48.
I'm sorry. I move to table Article 48. The $28,000 has already been put in the facility department budget, so it's not necessary.
Okay. Motion to table Article 48. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second. Apparently the money has been already put in the budget, Mr. Conley, for this article, so it's kind of a moot article. The money's already there. All those in favor of tabling Article 48, please indicate by raising your card. Thank you. And opposed? Article 48 is tabled. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Have a good night.
Well, that was, I would say.
I don't think so. We need a motion to adjourn?
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
We're done.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
We didn't do it, but we didn't do it. But I think we have.
Well, do we need a motion or can we? Mr. Moderator, I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
You already do. I just gotta find it. In here somewhere.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Ben. It's been a pleasure.
It has. I enjoyed it. Good stuff. My back's kicking in. Thanks for everything, Mike. Thank you. All in favor of adjourning? Aye. Meeting is adjourned. We're adjourned. Oh, yeah. Maybe call him, see what the hell he did, see what he did.
He didn't lose a single